There's the live audience. I would like for you to think about the last web page that you visited for the first time. Was it frustrating? Would you go back to that site? What about the web pages that you use all the time? What's different about those? According to an article entitled How Long Do Users Stay on Web Pages by Jacob Nielsen, a web designer gets about 10 seconds to make an impression. I grew up in the 90s when the internet really started coming into the lives of American families, and when websites by today's standards were really, really bad. Ever since I was a kid and I got my hands on a computer for the first time, I've been taking them apart and putting them back together ever since. I got my first taste of web design in middle school in the year 2000 as part of a class I was in, and at the end of this year I will have completed my associate's degree in web design and development. The thing that interests me the most about computers and the internet is their potential to connect us as a global society. Now, whether or not people are going to want to use a website depends on what they think and feel while using it. Web designers can consider the psychology of color, choice, and credibility in their creative process to build a better product. Let's experiment with this. For a few seconds, I want you to focus on your emotions. Picture the color red. Did that change the way you were feeling? The colors we see can create a very strong emotional reaction, oftentimes without us even being aware that this is happening. In fact, politicians tend to take advantage of this fact when choosing the attire that they're going to wear during their televised debates. They often wear red to make viewers see them as strong leaders, or they might wear blue to seem more likable. This works because, according to Janet Best's book, Color Design Theories and Applications, published in 2012, the color blue has been the favorite color of the human population since at least the 1950s. Consider the logos and layouts of some of the most used social media websites and applications on the planet. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Skype, LinkedIn, they all have blue logos and a very heavy use of blue in their color palette. The color palette is another important psychological factor for designing websites. This needs to be a basic selection of 2 to 4 main color choices and 2 to 3 accent color choices. Any more than that and you are headed into dangerously overwhelming and flashy 90s territory. A designer should focus on a couple of colors that will give the target audience a targeted emotional response. For example, a restaurant's website might want to use a palette of orange, red, and white. This will give the user the impression that the company is clean, professional, and it will probably make them hungry. But before the user has any visceral reaction to the colors on the page, they choose to go to that page for a reason, which is our next topic, choice. People enjoy a certain freedom on the internet of being able to choose where they want to go. And if they have a hard time getting where they want to be on a website, they won't stay there. It's pretty well understood that there are virtually endless options for finding information and entertainment on the web. So a web designer has to make this choice easy, with easy to use, descriptive navigation, not overloading the user with useless information to sift through, and not burying what the user is looking for in an endless pit of page links. This slide is a sitemap that I made for a client. The top of the slide is the old web page, and the bottom design is the proposed redesign of the navigation. As you can see, the top is a pretty good mess, and any user that goes to the website is going to have a really hard time finding what they're looking for. Whereas the bottom, it's logical, it's straightforward, it's simple choices, it just flows more naturally. An important thing to remember when beginning the design of navigation is memory. People, like computers, have a limited amount of short-term or random access memory. The average person can hold about 4 to 7 words or choices in their mind at a time. So your initial navigation shouldn't contain more choices than that. If it does, the user will find themselves forgetting what they're looking at. It will make their search more difficult. It will make their experience less enjoyable. Even if the user only has a couple of options to choose from on the landing page, according to Mr. Selajan and his many co-authors of an article from the JMed Life Journal entitled Credibility Judgments in Web Page Design, It doesn't take them more than a few seconds to decide if the page that they're looking at is legit. So our next topic is credibility. We all know that in the vast waters of the internet, there are plenty of hidden shallows with gouging rocks, pirates, and sirens luring you in with their dangerous songs. Of course, I'm referring to internet scams. According to Mr. Selijohn's article, most people will decide if a website is illegitimate by a reaction to the layout design alone before they even read any information that's on the website. Of course, this is because scammers' sites are trying to make quick grabs. They don't have the time or money to spend on real work, so why would they invest in real web design for fake products? Doesn't make sense. This is a good thing for the end user, but it does mean designers have to spend more time making their sites appear professional if they want the end user to stick around. This means that web designers can't use flashy GIFs and rainbow-colored palettes of the 90s. They have to create a site with directness, balance, and aesthetic. A user is going to find a website more credible when it is immediately apparent that the designer took the time to build something that is aesthetically pleasing and useful. Let's review what we've covered. When a website user feels that the page they're visiting is credible, can find what they're looking for without frustration, and the visual representation of the information offers a feeling that agrees with them, the designer who made this site, whether they know it or not, though they probably do, has successfully used principles of psychology in their design. There's a good chance that this user is going to stay on this page for more than 10 seconds. I think if we can connect these seconds to each other in a positive, encouraging fashion, that's something worth designing. Thank you.
Miracle.
That was wonderful.